Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on Loveworld USA News tonight. I'm Joel Richard, and first, a quick look at the top stories this evening. White House tells agencies to draft layoff plans as shutdown deadline looms. And President Trump says President Xi Jinping signed off on framework to put TikTok under U.S. ownership. Pete Hegseth summons hundreds of senior U.S. commanders to Virginia for rare in-person briefing. And Cheryl says she was barred from Naval Academy graduation over a 1994 cheating probe. Records show she didn't walk. And the U.S. Supreme Court to weigh legality of Trump-era tariffs as 2025 recipients top $200 billion. And now to the news. The White House has directed federal agencies to prepare reduction in force plans in case Congress fails to pass funding by September 30th, warning that permanent layoffs could follow for programs without alternative funding and that aren't aligned with President Donald Trump's priorities, according to a budget office memo circulated this week. Now, the guidance from the Office of Management and Budget comes amid a stalemate on Capitol Hill. House Republicans passed a short-term funding bill through November 20th, but Senate Democrats blocked it and are pushing their own measure that restores health care spending they say was cut in July's broader policy package. President Trump on Tuesday canceled a requested meeting with Democratic leaders, calling their demands unserious. Administration officials said the planning is precautionary and expressed hope a shutdown can be avoided. A lapse in funding would trigger the partial closure of non-essential government operations starting October 1st, with many employees furloughed while others work without pay until a deal is reached. Democrats accuse the White House of intimidation. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said President Trump has used threats of firing to scare federal workers and argued the memo is unrelated to reaching a bipartisan funding agreement. Now, since taking office, President Trump has already overseen workforce reductions through his Department of Government Efficiency initiative. Watch this.
This morning, with the government shutdown looming, Democrats and Republicans are in a standoff.
Democrats have drawn a line in the sand.
The White House warning federal agencies that mass firings could be coming, quote, in the event Democrats decide to shut down the government. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer dismissing the threat, writing, quote, Donald Trump has been firing federal workers since day one, not to govern, but to scare. This is nothing new and has nothing to do with funding the government. Republicans control the House and Senate, but funding bills require 60 Senate votes to pass, meaning at least some Democrats will have to get on board.
More news on President Donald Trump. He has signed an executive order outlining a framework that would keep TikTok operating in the United States under new U.S. ownership, saying Chinese leader Xi Jinping has approved the plan. Now, the still-to-be-finalized deal would spin TikTok's U.S. operations into a new joint venture controlled by American investors, including Oracle and Silver Lake Partners. Under the White House's description, U.S. investors would hold roughly 80% of the entity, while ByteDance would retain up to a 20% minority stake and one board seat barred from security matters. The Chinese embassy did not immediately comment. At issue is TikTok's powerful recommendation algorithm and data security. U.S. officials say the U.S. version would run on a licensed copy of ByteDance technology retrained solely on U.S. data. A move they argue neutralizes risks of foreign influence. The approach follows a law signed last year requiring ByteDance to divest TikTok's U.S. assets or face a ban. President Trump has repeatedly extended deadlines as talks progressed. Now, any change to the service carries risks for a platform central to how young Americans consume information. A Pew report released on Thursday found 43% of U.S. adults under 30 regularly get news on TikTok. Analysts say subtle shifts as the algorithm is retrained could be largely invisible to users, though political questions persist because some prospective owners and advisors are close to President Trump. Let's take a look.
TikTok lives on. The Trump administration says the popular social media platform will remain in business as it announces a deal to transfer the app from Chinese company ByteDance to U.S. ownership.
This is great news, not just for the millions of American youth who use TikTok. Their data will be safe and secure with this new deal. They'll continue to use this very fun app.
For years, Washington has wrestled with how to salvage the app while keeping its successful but addictive content recommendation algorithm. Under this new deal, cloud computing firm Oracle will provide app security in the U.S., operating a form of the algorithm outside of ByteDance's control.
Yes, and speaking of security, the Pentagon today said War Secretary Pete Hegseth will address hundreds of senior U.S. military leaders in Virginia early next week, an unusually large in-person gathering for generals and admirals who are typically briefed via secure video links. A Pentagon spokesperson confirmed the meeting but did not disclose the agenda. The order applies to officers at Brigadier General or Navy equivalent and above, along with their top enlisted advisors. Multiple department officials said commanders worldwide were directed to travel for the session, a scope rarely seen outside wartime or major strategy rollouts. The assembly comes as Pete Hegseth pursues a restructuring of the Flag and General Officer Corps. Just in May, he directed cuts of roughly 100 general and flag billets, at least a 20% reduction in four-star positions, and an additional 10% trim across the senior ranks, part of what he has called a less generals, more GIs approach. He has previously cited today's ratio of about 1 general per 1,400 troops compared with roughly 1 per 6,000 during World War II. Administration officials are also drafting a new national defense strategy that elevates homeland defense and could reshape global force posture. The Pentagon did not say whether next week's meeting will unveil those plans. Watch this.
According to several officials, the gathering will be held at the military installation in Quantico. The Pentagon has confirmed Pete Hegseth will be addressing military leaders, but would not say what will be discussed. Sources close to the matter say it is rare to have a large gathering of so many senior military officials in the same place at the same time.
Just today, New Jersey Democratic gubernatorial candidate, Representative Mickey Sherrill, said she was not permitted to participate in the U.S. Naval Academy's 1994 commencement ceremony because she refused to identify classmates in a mass cheating investigation that affected about 130 midshipmen. Sherrill's name did not appear in the May 25, 1994 graduation program. In a statement to the Globe, she said, "I didn't turn in some of my classmates. So I didn't walk, but graduated and was commissioned as an officer in the U.S. Navy, serving for nearly 10 years with the highest level of distinction and honor." She declined to authorize release of sealed academy disciplinary records that could detail the circumstances. The Naval Academy probe at the time centered on allegations of widespread cheating. Officials ultimately allowed many implicated midshipmen to graduate while imposing various sanctions. Sherrill, a former Navy helicopter pilot and later a federal prosecutor, emphasized that she received her diploma and commission despite the ceremony restriction. The news will be back after this break.
Pastor Chris in 1 Billion Homes Project is all about making sure the voice of our man of God, Pastor Chris Oyakhilome, arrives exactly when someone needs it the most. It's a global campaign to saturate the world with the gospel of our Lord Jesus like never before.
The gospel is going to go into places that it never was before, into disciplines and areas that it never was before, and establish a higher way of life.
Make a global impact today with your sponsorship of Pastor Chris in 1 Billion Homes Project. For every home you sponsor, you send the gospel where it's never gone. You become the reason someone receives life, a second chance, and finds Jesus. Through the dynamic Pastor Chris in 1 Billion Homes Project, we've been able to expand our global mission, touching more souls, more regions, and producing a wave of powerful testimonies from people whose lives have been forever changed. Your financial support as a Loveworld USA partner is not just generous, it's supernatural power for global impact. Let's keep sending the gospel into every home through the Pastor Chris in 1 Billion Homes Project. Sign up today and sponsor any of the following categories.
It's time for you to give the right sacrifice, the right seed, because it's time for you to get the right harvest.
You can sponsor Pastor Chris in 1 Billion Homes Project by calling or going on our website now. Sign up to be Pastor Chris in 1 Billion Homes Project partner today. God bless you.
U.S. tariff revenues have surged past $200 billion this year, even as the Supreme Court prepares to hear a challenge to President Donald Trump's sweeping trade duties, a pillar of his economic agenda. Treasury data through September 23rd show $213.3 billion collected in 2025, with a monthly peak of $31.4 billion in August and $29.7 billion already logged for September. Tariff intake has climbed steadily since spring, reflecting broadened duties and robust import flows. While importers legally pay the taxes at the border, economists note the costs are often passed on to consumers through higher prices. The legal footing faces a pivotal test. A federal appeals court ruled on August 29th that President Trump exceeded his authority by using emergency powers to impose certain tariffs, saying such actions belong with Congress or within established trade statutes. Now, the court allowed the duties to remain in place temporarily. The Supreme Court will hear arguments in early November. Steel and aluminum tariffs were not covered by the August decision. Now, the White House has defended the levies as a lawful tool to protect the U.S. economy and strategic industries, expressing confidence about prevailing at the High Court. Supporters argue the tariffs strengthen supply chains and generate significant revenue. Critics, however, counter that the duties function as a tax on U.S. businesses and households, and also risk retaliatory measures abroad. In other news, the General Services Administration said today it has reached an agreement with Elon Musk xAI that gives federal agencies access to the company's Grok 4 and Grok 4 Fast artificial intelligence models through March 2027, part of the administration's push to speed AI adoption across government. GSA officials framed the pact as a cost-saving way to modernize operations and support President Donald Trump's stated goal of maintaining U.S. leadership in AI. Under the arrangement, xAI engineers will provide onboarding and technical support, and agencies can buy access via existing GSA procurement channels. Financial terms beyond a nominal per agency price cited by xAI were not fully disclosed. Elon Musk, xAI's co-founder and CEO, praised the move as unlocking frontier AI for federal use and also thanked the administration for backing the rollout. GSA Federal Acquisition Service Commissioner Josh Greenbaum called broad model access essential to improving service delivery, and also said the agency is building an upgrade path that aligns with federal security standards, including FedRAMP. The agreement arrives as the administration advances an AI action plan and parallel efforts with private firms on data centers and energy supply to support large-scale AI workloads. Officials say near-term uses will focus on human-in-the-loop tools, summarization, search, document processing, while exploring longer-term agentic optimization with additional guardrails. Let's take a look.
The administration has announced a high-profile partnership with Elon Musk's AI venture, xAI, aiming to transform the way the U.S. government operates. On Thursday morning, the General Services Administration confirmed the deal, giving federal agencies access to xAI's cutting-edge models, Grok 4 and Grok 4 Fast. The agreement runs through March 2027 and is pitched as a cost-effective way to streamline federal workflow, procurement, and technology services. Elon Musk, co-founder and CEO of xAI, hailed the deal, calling his company's models the most powerful AI compute and most capable AI models in the world.
This just in today, e-commerce giant Amazon will pay $2.5 billion to resolve a Federal Trade Commission lawsuit accusing the company of steering consumers into Prime memberships with dark patterns and making cancellations unnecessarily difficult. Under the deal, Amazon will provide $1.5 billion in consumer refunds and pay a $1 billion civil penalty, and it must stop enrollment and cancellation practices the FTC deemed unlawful. The settlement comes days into trial and represents a record sum for an FTC case targeting subscription tactics. FTC Chair Andrew N. Ferguson called the outcome a monumental win for consumers, saying evidence showed Amazon used sophisticated sign-up traps and impeded cancellations. Amazon spokesperson Mark Blafkin said the company has always followed the law, adding that the agreement lets Amazon move forward and focus on innovating for customers, while asserting Prime sign-up and cancellation are already clear and simple. Now, some critics said the penalty doesn't go far enough. Senator Elizabeth Warren argued the settlement is less than 1% of Amazon annual revenue and does not hold executives personally accountable, warning that companies may view such fines as a cost of doing business. Now, Amazon still faces a separate FTC antitrust case alleging the company operates as a monopoly. That trial is scheduled for 2027. Don't go anywhere. The news continues after this break.
It's easy to set up, quick to start, and packed with value. Smarter streaming starts here with the Alpha TV Stick. Just plug and stream anytime, anywhere. Discover a curated lineup of content designed to inspire, live broadcasts and global events, inspirational films and series, children's programming, healing and teaching sessions, all on demand.
With millions of downloads worldwide, the Alpha TV app is transforming lives across the globe. And now, we're on a mission to reach 1 billion downloads of the Alpha TV app, and you can be part of it. Join the global wave with 1 billion Alpha TV app downloads worldwide. Bring the higher life into every home. Order your Alpha TV Stick today and experience smarter streaming. Alpha, the higher life is here.
And now on the international front, former French President Nicolas Sarkozy has been sentenced to 5 years in prison after a Paris court found him guilty of criminal conspiracy in an alleged plot to funnel money from Libya into his 2007 presidential campaign. Now, in a surprise move, the court said the 70-year-old ex-leader will be incarcerated even as he pursues an appeal, with a start date to be set later. Sarkozy was not taken into custody from the courtroom. Judges concluded that from 2005 to 2007, while serving as interior minister and then candidate, Sarkozy joined a criminal association to seek Libyan funds in exchange for diplomatic favors. He was acquitted on 3 other counts, including passive corruption, illegal campaign financing, and also concealing the embezzlement of public funds. Let's take a look.
The accusations trace their roots to 2011, when a Libyan news agency and late Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi himself said the Libyan state had secretly funneled millions of euros into Nicolas Sarkozy's successful 2007 presidential run. Prosecutors alleged that Sarkozy knowingly benefited from what they described as a corruption pact with Gaddafi's government. In exchange for millions in illegal financing, Sarkozy was said to have supported Libya's public rehabilitation on the international stage. One such example, Gaddafi's 5-day visit to Paris in 2007, followed by the signature of multiple contracts. Alongside Sarkozy, 2 suspected intermediaries are also at the heart of this case: entrepreneur Alexandre Giori and French-Lebanese national Ziad Taqeddine, who passed away a few days ago. Taqeddine had told investigators he transported 3 suitcases filled with €5 million worth of cash between Libya and Paris.
We received some news from our sources on ground that a huge sinkhole opened along a major 4-lane road in Bangkok on Wednesday, swallowing part of the carriageway, downing utility poles, and rupturing water lines. No injuries were reported, but 3 vehicles were damaged and nearby buildings were evacuated. Bangkok Governor Chachad Sitapun said early assessments point to nearby underground rail construction as the likely cause. Dramatic videos showed the asphalt slumping in stages before the void widened, severing the roadway and exposing subsurface structures in front of the Samson's police station. City authorities cut electricity and water as a precaution and closed part of Varjira's hospital's outpatient services for 2 days, though structural checks found no immediate damage to the facility. Now, with Thailand's rainy season in full swing, crews raced to stabilize the site and warned that heavy downpours could worsen erosion. Emergency workers used a crane and harness to lift a pickup truck teetering on the lip of the chasm. Another truck was visible inside the roughly 160-foot deep hole. The sound was like an electricity pole collapsing, and my whole flat shook, said Nopadek Pitpang, a hospital employee who lives nearby. Authorities said repairs and full investigation are still underway. Let's take a look.
A massive sinkhole opened outside Vajira Hospital in Bangkok's Dusit district on Wednesday morning, forcing evacuations and road closures. The sinkhole, about 50 meters deep and spanning roughly 900 square meters, appeared around 7:15 a.m. Following the incident, the hospital announced it would temporarily stop admitting patients. Prime Minister Anutin Charnvirakul told reporters that no casualties were reported, though soil from an underground train construction site had begun sliding into the cavity. Bangkok Governor Chadchart Sitaput confirmed that the sinkhole was caused by a tunnel leak at a nearby MRT station construction site. Electricity and water supplies in the area were cut as a precaution, and several nearby buildings, including a police station, were declared unsafe and evacuated. Authorities are now working to stabilize the site amid concerns that heavy rain could worsen the damage.
Just before we end the news tonight, let's have a quick look at tomorrow's weather forecast. And to end the news, let's have a quick recap of the top headlines. White House tells agencies to draft layoff plans as shutdown deadline looms. President Donald Trump says President Xi Jinping signed off on framework to put TikTok under U.S. ownership. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth summons hundreds of senior U.S. commanders to Virginia for rare in-person briefing. Cheryl says she was barred from Naval Academy graduation over a 1994 cheating probe. Records show she didn't walk. And the U.S. Supreme Court to weigh legality of Trump-era tariffs as 2025 receipts top $200 billion. And that's the news for tonight. Join us at the same time tomorrow for more news. I am Joel Richard, signing off. God bless you, God bless our armed forces, and God bless the United States of America.